It has been so hard for me to focus lately because of everything that's been going on. The more I feel like I learn, the more I feel stranded. The more I feel like not wanting to talk to people and being distant and being more of a recluse. The more you learn about the world and how things work, you will first face existential crisis if you aren't aware of how certain things work, how the world works, how people work, how human nature work, and how the universe works all together, how your past literally shapes every single decision that you are making and currently making, and how you can use your past history of the world, not only of the world but of yourself, and use it to predict your future or and see kind of how you might face some issues coming up and how to prevent facing those issues or to face them in a better way. If you know you have a certain way of behaving, a certain way of interacting with people, and you know that will be detrimental or beneficial in your life later on, you know this about yourself. And how you know this is from your past history. Mistakes you've made, shit you've gone through, just a computer learning from its experience. And over time, when you over time, when you collect enough data points, you can make predictions. I've been watching this channel called Predictive History and a few other people online, YouTube, and if you're interested in stuff like that, I've made some videos on my channel going in depth of how our history and the world we live in, and more also just personal stories. And if you're new to this channel, welcome. I don't know who you are, but I'm very grateful that you're watching. And just a little bit about what this channel even is and what this video will be about. Overall, just talking about what the hell is going on in this world that you and I are living in. These videos are more so being made for the future, for my great grandkids, because I have mentioned this in my other videos too, how I wish I can watch, read, or have access to the thoughts of just my great grandfather, grandmother, granduncle, someone I've learned a couple, like a year ago. My dad was talking to my parents about family history and how you learn things, and it was very interesting learning how certain people in our ancestry were involved in military and in the wars in India. I don't know the exact details. I'm still learning. I'll make a separate video about that if I come to it, or if you're interested in it, let me know. And it makes you think like, okay, I wish I had some record of what this person was thinking. Right? So these are why I'm making these videos, and not to say I'm some historical figure, but even some random family member. If there is some videos of what their thought process was of their time 50, 60, 100, 200, 300 years ago, could you imagine that? If you had letters from your ancestor, some random ancestor, and talking about how the struggles they went through hunting, the struggles they went through with their marriages or marriage, navigating family, navigating what this happened and that, just how valuable that would be. It's valuable enough to hear other people's mistakes and shit that they have, gone through, and learn from that. And especially if it's someone you connect with, and if you relate to some of the stuff I'm saying, then I appreciate you. If not, then it's whatever. This is why I'm making these videos. And back to what I was saying. It has been hard to focus, especially the more I learn about things. And the reason why is you learn, and I'll make a separate video about this. And let me know if you want more videos about how the world works, geopolitics, history, shit like that. In the comments, let me know. If not, whatever. I'm gonna make videos of me jumping off the tallest bridge with a parachute on, and just because I want to. Maybe one day I'll do that. it has been hard to focus because the more you learn about what the hell is going on and what people are in control and what has happened, what has been done, the evil acts that have been done, and it makes you sit there and think like, first, okay, the Epstein thing is one thing, the Diddy thing is one thing, and I've made videos about both of those if you scroll down on my channel. But then you learn about the bigger picture of how not only what's going on now, especially with the shooting in Minnesota, what else has happened, man? A lot has happened. This guy got kidnapped in his Nike Tech outfit. And I don't know if that was something they threw on him because it was cold and he was shivering, and they gave him a water bottle and some glasses so you couldn't see where he was at to hide the location, whatever the fuck it is, of where they were taking him. President of Venezuela. You see things happening, and once you've learned history and what happened, how Rome collapsed and how the Bible was written by Peter in a way for King David's apology, and how it was all just how we interpret things and how we are taught things in school about certain events, of certain things, of why this happened and why this war happened. Why do we go invade this country? It was for this reason and because of this attack. Even though we as in the United States or, any powerful country can create terrorists. You torture innocent people enough and eventually they will, similarly to how in Egypt, they would traumatize the pharaoh. Once the pharaoh was traumatized by the priest, there were three, like if you look into Egyptian mythology, you will learn how there's Isis, the nurturing, the person who, so basically there's Horus, there's Isis, there's Ra, and Horus is trying to get revenge because Horus is the kid of Isis. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. I learned this from Predictive History. It's interesting shit, and it connects to what I'm about to talk about now, and how this brainwashing of these pharaohs is linked to the shit and the destruction that's going on now, the programming that's going on now in not only the elects, the people who are elected in power, not only those, but our own minds, how these algorithms, how we have algorithms now basically programming us. We go through traumatic events. So basically, Horus is trying to get revenge on Ra. And there's this whole story. Basically, they traumatized the pharaoh so much into different, and I'll make a whole video about this going into detail. But basically, I'm going to keep it simple in this video. When the priest traumatized the pharaoh, you're going to ask, how do you traumatize a pharaoh? Why would a pharaoh allow himself to be traumatized by some random priest? Isn't he a king? Wouldn't you, if you're a king, not want to be? So when you were born into the pharaoh position, sometimes some things in the culture that you're born in, you are forced to do because it's what's normal. So this was what's normal back in Egypt. The priest would make the pharaoh go through these rituals of, let's say they have a prisoner captured. And in the story of the mythology with Ra, Cyrus, Isis, the character, there's involved of like cutting up the body into many pieces, and then Isis has intercourse with the body, and then like not with the body but with, because that was her husband, and then they had a kid, and the kid's name was Horus, and Horus wanted revenge. And these are characters in these Egyptian mythologies that enacted stuff, whether that's trauma to each other, whether that's the pharaoh getting cut physically, and certain smells. And basically, when you go through enough trauma and certain storylines are placed in front of you, like you reenact the killing of how Horus killed so-and-so in this story, and everyone has masks on, and there's this smoke, there's smoke, psychedelic smoke, so the pharaoh's like hallucinating. And whenever the pharaoh is in a meeting and the priest wants the pharaoh to make a certain decision, make a certain political decision in a big meeting for a war, and the priest wants the pharaoh to act more like a warrior, like the revengeful Horus. And I might be getting the whole story mixed up with the characters Horus, Isis, Ra, with the sun fighting each other, Eclipse, whatever. If you know what I'm talking about, then you know. But the priest can let out a smell, a specific smell that was released during the traumatic experience and brainwashing of the pharaoh. And when that smell of whatever incense or rose is released, will trigger the pharaoh to go into the Horus archetype and be the vengeful warrior and make decisions that are more warrior typed. And you know, there's also a smell or a way to trigger the pharaoh to go into the victim one, a victim character, a victim archetype, the person in this story who was cut up and abused and thrown in the casket by Seth, and because he was jealous. And it's a very interesting story. It took a while for me to learn, but once I learned this, I saw this play out in what's going on today. The chaos, the destruction, it seems like people are indulging more and more into the darkness and the violence. The shooting that happened, the fucking kidnapping of and I'm sure this guy, and I've heard, look, I've done some research. Narco-terrorism isn't a good thing. If you're labeled a narco-terrorist, I don't think it should be taken lightly. If you don't know what that is, you are a president or a leader of a country, and you are, you know, getting a good check from a big drug dealer in your country, you know, to get help of, you know, I got to move this product to somewhere. I got to move this product to other, not just domestically in Venezuela, but I need to export it to US, other countries, China, mainly US, Mexico, whatever it is. Countries have borders, protection, security. If you're friends with the president and give them a good paycheck of the profit you're making with pushing these hundreds of tons of cocaine, oh, God knows where, and killing God knows how many people, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, and a lot of people will not say no to a deal like that. So don't criticize people, because if you were handed over $50 million just to say yes to a few boats, letting a few boats not go through inspection or not checking what's in them, what would you do? People would do a lot for just $30,000. Imagine what they would do for 50 million, 100 million. Not just once, but over and over again, every time you let this transgression happen. When you let these bad things, subjective to whoever's survivability is on stake. In this case, it was hurting America, and Trump saw the opportunity. You know, there's oil in Venezuela. Now look, and we Americans will let a lot of things fly for cheaper prices. I have noticed this. You know, if the price, Tim Dillon said this, you know, you go to the gas station or whatever, and you see maple syrup is $1. He had this joke, it was hilarious. He was like, the guy's like, maple syrup is $1. How? Oh yeah, they kidnapped the governor of Vermont, and they burnt this house down. They lynched him. He's on a tree, live stream. Kai Cenat's actually gonna go visit him. And they're gonna make a whole live stream about that and the monument. But look, a lot of people will let a lot of things slide if the right incentives are given to them. If life is made easier in the US and they're destroying the whole world, a lot of people will look over it and be like, oh, whatever, it's not happening here. But if it's not happening here, they're still unleashing the demon of chaos and violence on Earth. And eventually, it'll come closer and closer to home. And that's what scares me. That's what makes me, when I'm learning this stuff, and I'm, we all have goals and aspirations in life, and we have a plan, and it's good to have a plan. You should always have a plan, and be a good person, and plan out the next step, right, and have a plan for tomorrow and this and that. And I've always struggled with figuring out where this discontentment came from, of this like rebellious type of like, why should I do what you want me to do? Why, like, in the sense of like, it literally feels like the world could be in a pretty bad shape in the next couple of years, or 10, 20 years, 100 years. You never know, could be tomorrow. Let alone that, you don't know when your life is going to expire. You think you plan, no, I'm going to retire when I'm 70, or no, fuck that. I rather, honestly speaking, if I ever retiring when, oh my God, I would jump off a bridge. I do not want to live a life where I have worked like a slave up until 70 just to get the last few years, last whatever. And who knows, are you even going to make it to 70? Scratch whatever I said. Look, what I wanted to say is, I don't want to think like, okay, most people have this idea of, okay, I'm going to plan out this certain life, and then by this age, I'm going to retire, these kids and this and house and that. And that is perfectly good thing to do. And I encourage people to do that. And I do think that if you don't do that, it's hard to survive in the society. But sometimes when things get too stressful, when the day-to-day, you're like, damn, these small, like, I got this meeting and then this interview and then this and then acceptance, exam score. I encourage you to zoom out and realize that not only does it seem like society is collapsing at any day, any moment, and not to bring down the mood, but to make it into more positive, to live your life every day like it's the last. And I'm not saying to go do drugs and sell your house and use the money to go gambling and just do whatever you want. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it'll give you a peace of mind knowing that you don't know what's happening tomorrow. So this little argument that you're going through, this stress of making sure people around you are happy, of, making sure these expectations are met of yourself and others, when that gets too much, that's when you zoom out and, realize that none of this actually matters. And if you really think it matters, then you are more brainwashed than someone can, it's not fixable. And I mean, it could be fixable. A lot of psychotherapy might be needed, and you can't change someone's mind. Thank you for watching this. If you found this interesting, I have other videos similar to these topics in my channel below. Love you.